Over to Nashville, Tennessee Tits fired Mike Vrabel, hired Bryce Callahan. Um, my grade was a
Bryce
C
Callahan?
plus. Yes, Bryce. I'm sorry, Brian Callahan. My
We
grade
can't
C
get this guy's
plus.
first name.
Your grade D. Um, and even though the grade doesn't really reflect it, I actually don't mind this hire. The thing I hate about this hire the most, Luke, is that they fired Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
So, here's what I wrote about this. I'm sorry, but the Tits, they just like don't have the ability. They don't have, I don't know what it is, like the aura to fire a great head coach just because he is trying to rebuild a little bit. Um, like they just don't have that. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but they shouldn't
They don't have
have
the
that power.
credibility.
Yeah, they
They're
shouldn't. Like
yeah.
they haven't proven enough as an organization to fire Mike Vrabel for this. But Brian is a fine hire, if you ask me, because you get Joe Burrow's offensive coordinator, a guy that has actually really helped Joe, and I think he can help Luke's guy Will. Now he also has to run the rest of the team and all those duties, and we just talked about that with Mike McDonald. But this is a guy that has been around for a while, and I think he might be a quick learner coming from Zach Taylor's staff, who came from Sean McVay's staff. And in this new era of football, it could be interesting to see the Titans as an offensive team. Like we haven't ever really seen that. Yeah, Derrick Henry has had a 2,000-yard season, but when you're a run-heavy team in the NFL, you don't really picture them as an offensive team. One huge negative for Brian here is that this is a complete overhaul rebuild. And I think some people are forgetting that, because the Titans, they're just such a forgettable team. I hate to say that, but they just are. Um, and I think people are forgetting like their state right now, like where they're at as a team, because this is a complete rebuild. New quarterback, he got some good reps last year, threw 8 touchdowns, but they've got a long way to go. Offense, defense, they're going to have almost no playmakers on offense. Derrick Henry's he's leaving. Their defense, they don't have really any big names on defense anymore, except on the defensive front with Simmons. But because Kevin Byard left, and they could re-sign him this offseason. The Eagles released him, but it's a tough
Why would you
situation.
want to go back there as a veteran right now?
Exactly. Why would you?
Yeah.
And C plus, I'm actually almost talking myself down. I actually just think Brian Callahan, you know, Joe Burrow when he got into the league, he was struggling mightily, and he was. I'm not going to say he was fixed by Brian Callahan, but he had some great help from Brian Callahan, and also having a guy like Jamar Chase. But you get the picture. He's seen it happen before. He's seen a really bad organization. People forget how bad the Bengals were for a little bit after the Andy Dalton era kind of completely was over. Before they went into the Joe Burrow era, it was really ugly. Um, you could see something like that next year with the Titans. But if Will Levis gets better, you can really build off that pretty fast if you've got the quarterback down. So C plus. Uh, we'll see where it goes, but yeah, I'm interested to see why you got it so low. Maybe because we barely know who he is, but
Yeah, that's kind of. I didn't even realize he was with the Bengals like until the Titans hired him. I was like, who's Brian Callahan? And I was like, oh, Bengals offensive coordinator. Okay. Um, but I got a D because this is similar to the Seahawks. It's like, did they really get better at the head coaching position? I think the answer is no. I mean, Titans fans were just as shocked as anyone whenever the news was announced that he was fired. And I think about 85% of NFL teams were like, oh, we'll hire Mike Vrabel, and that's kind of a bad sign whenever you fire a guy and everyone instantly goes, oh, we'll take him. Uh, that's
but
it's not
nobody
really a
took
good
him.
look.
That's another crazy thing.
Yeah, that is true.
So
I guarantee some of those teams that are teeter tottering on the head coaching this year are going to be looking. They're going to know that Mike Vrabel's out there. A team like the Bears, maybe, but Um, yeah, this is when I stopped my notes for the teams. Because I just don't really have a lot of thoughts on this one. It's just it doesn't move the needle. I mean,
It's not a needle mover. And you know what?
I
I'm
the
realizing that you're right. This is a pretty similar situation to Mike McDonald, except even worse. Vrabel,
yeah
I love Pete Carroll. Vrabel is in a better, like, I don't know, better coaching aura right now than Pete Carroll. Just because he's younger, he kind of, I think, maybe might get the game a little bit more on his level right now. And he's got a lot of juice left. And you're right. I mean, that's a massive downgrade. I don't really know what the thought was behind it. But at the end of the day, this is an offensive game. You made an offensive hire. I don't think you can really ever diss an offensive hire. It almost seems like, when we're moving
yeah
in this offensive game, he
it's a safe one.
literally, yeah, it's safer. He literally just helped Joe Burrow get the biggest contract in the NFL's history. So you can't, when you're trying to help a quarterback, same thing that we saw with the Panthers. You're just trying to bring a guy in that can develop and fix a quarterback. So I don't think it's the
Yeah,
worst thing. I think it's a little bit better than Mike McDonald. I guess I had a full letter grade better than Mike McDonald, but it's basically the same thing. So we'll see.
yeah. It's just if you are a Titans fan, you can get excited about. He's an offensive mind, and he can work with Will Levis and help develop him. And their offense, they have been rebuilding the offense completely for the last few years, getting some receivers, not really panning out, getting some offensive linemen. Some of them are panning out. I do have a question. You said Derrick Henry's leaving, which is pretty apparent, but DeAndre Hopkins too. I mean, he's a veteran receiver. We don't know how much he's got left in the tank. I don't know why he would want to waste a career or a year of his career here in Tennessee next year because they're not going to be a contender whatsoever next year.
Okay.
Um,
I'm not going to lie. I completely forgot about D Hop when I was trying to think of guys that they had on offense, and he totally blanked my mind. D Hop had a not great. He had borderline great season last year. Like, he was teetering. Like, him and Will Levis had a kind of like a shockingly good connection, just like that, And DeAndre Hopkins caught a lot of passes last year. So
he
that
was
was
inconsistent though, but so was the Titans team.
But so was the quarterback position. It's hard to be a consistent wide receiver when your quarterback position is revolving door,
Fluctuating week to week. Yeah,
so
that makes sense. But I
it
mean, this
also
is
blanked
another.
my mind. Sorry, it also blanked my mind just a moment ago that over the past few years, how incompetent the Titans front office has been.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's
really
just
has been.
head
So
scratching move after head
yeah,
scratching move, really.
so that's
Um,
kind of concerning. But
yeah,
yeah,
this rebuild, I think, it might go south pretty quickly, and you could see all of them uh, looking for employment very soon. What was I going to say? Oh, this is another team that I think they're picking 6th overall in the draft. So another high draft pick you can get excited about. You can get a playmaker. I mean, you're picking 6th. That's playmaker territory. Franchise
definitely.
and potentially franchise changing player either on defense or offense. I mean, whatever you want to take. They're going to be in the Malik Neighbors, the Romeo Dunze kind of tier. If they want to take a receiver, they could take Joe Alt probably if they wanted
That's what I
to.
was thinking.
That they could, but they've taken a lot of offensive linemen here recently. You could take a defensive player. I don't really think this is a strong defensive class, but I mean, you're picking 6th, and the top 3 picks are going to be QBs. So I mean, you're going to have pretty much the pick of the litter with what you want. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get excited about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a depressing situation down there in Tennessee right now, which, I mean, my guy Will, I'll back him, but yeah, the rest of it, the front office is, I'd want them gone. I would hate them if I was a
I
Titans
think
fan.
some of
So
them did get fired this past season. I think it is newer guys at the GM and the GM spots, but but still.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They did get a new GM, I think, but I mean, it's still they're there's just a lot of head scratchers. You just don't really know.